let me tell you a little story before we get on Jurassic Park the ride. You guys know that Jurassic Park was such a pivotal thing in my childhood. I had the privilege of being able to see it during its initial theatrical release in 1993. I remember my father taking me to go see this film. And for its 20th anniversary, it just so happened it coincided with my birthday that year. So in 2013, some friends, when I was living in San Antonio, took me to see Jurassic Park when it was back in limited theaters in IMAX in 3D. I can't see 3D, but still, the glasses made it not fuzzy, so I still put the glasses on. And I got to re-experience that film in a movie theater again, just like it was 20 years ago. And that was of all the things that people have done for me on my birthday, that's up there as one of the most special things. So Jurassic Park the ride, I've ridden this ride. Because I've been to Universal Studios Florida a long time ago when I was a kid, when my family when we weren't as broke, we saved for quite some time to be able to make a trip to Orlando to go to Universal Studios, and I got to ride Jurassic Park the ride, and I loved it. It was great. They had all these little nods to the movies. They had, at the end of the ride, if you pay attention, there's a can of Barbasol that's just laying out in the open, and there's a Dilophosaur standing over it with his frills out, and he spits water at you. You drive, the boat goes past the part where the Ford Explorer is hanging from the T-Rex bridge, and then there's a cable that drops it and it falls down, into the water. It was such an incredible experience. And when I was at the taping of BattleBots a couple years ago, when I was working with BattleBots, on one of the days that we were not shooting, we went to Universal Studios Hollywood, and they have a Jurassic Park the ride there. It's the same ride at the Universal Studios Hollywood. And as it turns out, this was the last season that ride was going to be in operation before they retired it. They're turning it into a Jurassic World ride, and it's gonna suck, and fuck it. But just like being able to go back into the theater and experience Jurassic Park again 20 years after the fact for the special release, I was one of the last people to be able to ride Jurassic Park the ride before it was retired. And as we were going through the line and waiting in line, they still had the CRTs mounted up in the ceiling that play the park safety video about keep your hands and feet inside the boat, don't fuck around, don't mess with the little locking mechanism, and it was the same video that they made in the 90s. You could tell that it was that video, and that those were probably the same televisions that have been playing that video on loop since the ride opened, I think in 95, and riding that ride, it was bittersweet because it was in a state of disrepair. It had been running for 20 years, and I remember one of the long necks that are in the water had a crick in his neck, and you could see part of the mechanism that was like poking at the latex foam, and the Dilophosaur who guards the can of Barbasol didn't spit water at you anymore. The Ford Explorer that's supposed to drop down from the bridge was just always down. That effect was no longer functional, and I could tell the ride was tired. But the one thing that they still had there is, if you pay close attention, there's another boat of tourists from the ride that got lost and presumably eaten by dinosaurs, and floating in the water is a pair of the Mickey Mouse ears they sell at Disney World. And I always thought that was a really nice, funny fuck you. I just the float, because there's also like a floating can, like soda cans and stuff in the water. They're all anchored down, but they're like floating off to the side right there. And if you look closely, the Mickey Mouse ears was a nice cameo. And at least, okay, if you've never been on Jurassic Park the ride, I can't spoil it for you because it no longer exists. But the big reveal was that as you're getting through and escaping the dinosaurs, you go down, and the part where it takes your picture is you go through this chute and you drop down like a log flume, and when the lights flash to take your picture, there's a giant T-Rex head that's like right there, like you couldn't even see it, but you see it when the lights flash to take your photograph. And that's the big scare, that's the big thrill of the ride, and then you go down, and then the water splashes up, and then, you know, that's the end of the ride, and you can go buy your picture from the souvenir shop if you wanted to do that. And it's just a really meaningful experience to me. I don't know how this game is gonna fuck it up, but both Jurassic Park the movie and the ride are two things I hold in very high regard in my life. So, as stupid as this game is, let's go ride Jurassic Park the ride. Because this is the only way you can do it now.